The Fortnite storyline has gone into overdrive in Chapter 6, Season 3, Super, with a newly formed academy of superheroes fighting against a new demon empire on the island, which is led by the Mask Maker, who is actually Daigo, but a demon-corrupted version of him, as the dark presence inside of the spirit realm who we were warned about by Jade, completely took over Daigo, turning him into a full-on demon and being led in charge of a new demon army, whilst Mercenary Core is the lieutenant for this army. Now, Demon Daigo has lately been attacking the island with spires. And no, it's got nothing to do with the spire from Chapter 2, Season 6. It's a completely new thing called Demon Spires. And they work very similar to those Galactus droids back in Chapter 2, Season 4. However, these spires have a mind of their own and actually absorb the island's energy. And you can really tell that these spires are doing their job. This was the top right of the island at the beginning of this chapter. You can see it looks really bright and actually has an aesthetic to it. And now, in Chapter 6, Season 3, it looks like this. Pretty dull. Looks like the island itself is just losing color, looking more grey, but not by much. And I honestly think this is all due to the spires. Not to mention that the spires aren't only attacking the BR island, they are also attacking the LEGO reality, which of course fits into LEGO Fortnite Expeditions, but I'll get into that later on in the video. Now, this season introduced us to a new character named Morgan Mist, who is a part of the Supernova Academy and possesses dark magical powers. She shares extremely similar powers with Raven from Teen Titans. But yeah, Morgan Mist is literally the main focus of this season's new storyline quest, where she starts off as Shadows and we have to copy her actions. And we are instructed to do this by Hope. And this is where we start our contact with Morgan Mist, who instructs us to collect surveillance gear around Supernova Academy. And with this gear, we build a surveillance sensor at Demon's Domain, which is the Mask Maker's main POI. And that's when Morgan realizes that it was him behind all of the spires, which to be honest was pretty obvious. Although it's not really Daigo, it's the dark presence controlling him and everything else. Curious, Morgan makes us collect spire fragments for further analysis, and then says we need to figure out these spires, and fast. People are getting hurt in all of this. Which is true, these spires are a massive deal and do actually have the capability of destroying the entire Chapter 6 reality. So we gotta be quick. Now, after picking up the spire fragments, we run over to Superman, who says, "Thank you, we can examine these to learn more about the Mask Maker's plan. If we can understand what's coming, we can protect people from these spires." Which is what we need to do, because again said, these spires are a big and dangerous deal. Now, as Morgan discovers more about these spires, she becomes pretty suspicious of Hope. So we collect clues for her around the Supernova Academy. Like, we find a shadow document on Joan's desk, which Morgan says, "Huh? Why are these Supernova Academy documents marked with the shadow insignia?" In Hope's office, we find a diagram of how the spires are formed. These notes, some are in Hope's handwriting, some in Midas's. Are they working together? And then the final clue that we can find in the quiet room of the Supernova Academy is a sketch of a portal. The Night Rose is analyzing weak points in an archway in Utopia City. It might be a sort of gate. And we know what this is. This is a drawing of the gate at Utopia City that leads to the 0 Point Vault. Yes, it's officially back in Chapter 6, Season 3, by the way, but just give me 1 sec. After pinning all the clues together, Morgan says, "Eureka! That archway in Utopia City is a gateway to Hope and Midas's big secret." But what is it? Well, Morgan discovers that to interact with this gate, we must bring a sprite to it. And this actually opens it, making the vault visible. And after we do this, Midas just walks out. But Midas is kind of like a hologram. We can walk through him. But it's not actually a hologram. Midas says, "It seems I have a shadow. You are lucky. I've always had a fondness for shadows, Mist." By the way, if you haven't figured out already, these dialogues are directed to Morgan Mist. Yes, this vault is intended to hold the 0-point shard once we have collected it. You're not a bad spy. If inexperienced, your first lesson in espionage is know when to keep a secret. So yeah, this gate in Utopia City was linked to the 0-point vault, so the 0-point shard can be stored in there after we collect it from the spirit realm. Finally, we then confront the head of the Supernova Academy herself. Hope. I'm impressed. Yeah, Midas is bankrolling Supernova Academy and our other special project, the Vault. I know what you're thinking, and I agree with you. Trusting Midas is a risk. But not securing the 0-point shard is an even bigger risk, and I don't mean just to this island. Plus, if there are more shards out there causing problems, we will really need the vault. So yeah, Hope is kind of feeling like the new singularity now. But yeah, moving on, Outlaw Midas now has his own set of quests, where we need to speak with Midas about his highly professional field operative. I could use your help liaising my associate. He's chaotic, but he's effective. Track him down and bring me the intel he's collected, and that's when we gotta head over to Lone Wolf Lair. And that's where we'll find Skillet. Yes, that rat possum thing from Fortnite Lawless, who is actually Midas's associate. You're bringing fresh orders from the Gold Man, eh? Tell ya what, how about we split the work 50-50? You go on ahead, I'll start on my own time. And that's when we have to complete Skillet's scheme, where we have to gather info on the spires around the island. Jade shares, "I've been talking to the sprites about those spires that Daigo is summoning. Those spires are tied to that dark presence in the spirit realm. The sprites are afraid of the spires, and they won't tell me why." Well, okay, Jade, isn't it a bit obvious? Like, look at them, bro. They look really aggressive. I would be pissing myself if I actually saw one. But yeah, then we talk to the Night Rose, who says these spires are woven from the magics of the spirit realm. Their master seeks to gain purchase in this world. We cannot let that happen. And of course, the Night Rose is referring to the dark presence. His thrall. No, I will never have my taken from me again. Okay, Epic, that's... Come on, Epic. What is this writing, bro? I will never have my rights taken away from me again. I will never have my soul taken away from me again. Either of them work. After this, we then finish Skillet's scheme by reporting back to Skillet himself. Alright, I played possum while you did all the work. If you could leave that bit out of your report to the Gold Man, I'd appreciate it. And if you don't, well, keep an eye out for hidden explosives, maybe. We then report back to the Gold Man himself, Midas, who says, it seems I underestimated Skillet's competence as a spy. I mean, yeah, he was god-awful. He was pretty useless during Season 2 Lawless as well. Thank you for working as a go-between. There are, as always, eyes on me. It seems my new allies don't entirely trust me. Good. They shouldn't, and Midas is talking about the Supernova Academy, by the way. Now, speaking of the Supernova Academy, their battle against the demons is literally the main plot for the new LEGO mode, LEGO Fortnite Expeditions. And this new mode actually contains a lot of new hidden lore to do with this season, and the overall storyline of Fortnite itself. Like, there is literally an item named Unstable Hallowed Hammer, and its weapon description is protected for generations by an ancient order. And there is also another item which was created by an ancient champion. Are they referring to the Imagined Order? Well, more specifically, the Oathbound, which were the olden day version of the Imagined Order, with this ancient champion most likely being Geno. Well, back then he was known as the Ageless Champion. Speaking of the Imagined Order, the Wailing Woods bunker in Fortnite OG has started to flash with light from the inside, and this is actually a Morse code, which translates to something is wrong. And as we can see it through the bunker, it's obviously coming from the Imagined Order. So this is really weird, and this did not happen in 2018. Maybe the IO are starting to realize that the new visitor skin on the island is our past visitor. But who knows? Either way, something is very wrong in Fortnite OG. And if you do want to watch my recent video about the visitor in OG, well then the link is down in the description below. Also, just one more thing, and this is actually about the 7 in LEGO Expeditions. There's an item named Unstable Solidays Pistols, and its description is built by a brilliant scientist from beyond our solar system. And it's theorized that this is referring to the scientist. And if that was actually the case, then that would be very cool. Also, during LEGO Expeditions, Morgan Mist actually says Mask Maker Daigo has minions from the Spirit Realm and the Storm King's Realm, which is absolutely insane. And not only does it tell us that the Mask Maker is currently working with the Storm King, but it also means that Demon Daigo is now technically affiliated with the Last Reality. And I honestly think that this affiliation will be the thing that brings us into Fortnite Chapter 6 Season 4, which is the Bug/Alien season. But I'll talk more deeply about that season in another video. Now, at the end of this BR season, we will not be getting a full-on live event, but we will of course be getting a mini live event. And we already know a few things about it. The event is expected to take place on either the 12th or the 13th of July. I know, it's actually pretty early as this season ends in rather early August. Either way, the name of this mini live event will most likely be The Fall of Supernova Academy, as that's the name of an upcoming set of storyline quests. But yeah, it's heavily theorized that the Supernova Academy will fail against Demon Daigo. So, for once in a long time, we will actually lose. The villain will win this season. And to be fair, this isn't surprising at all when looking at the theme of next season. And the leaks of that the Dark Presence will most likely be a very long-running villain in the storyline. So yeah, Daigo will most likely defeat the Supernovas in the event. And he will actually look like this during the event, looking more controlled. But nah, I'm hoping to get this as a future style for the Mask Maker, as it honestly looks fire. Also, something really interesting but kinda sweet here. The Spirit siblings' grandfather at some point decided to leave a pair of daggers for both Kendo and Jade. Each dagger was made for them and represent how these characters' personalities are. Unfortunately, we don't have an official look for these daggers yet, but you can see here that it says, for my grandson Kendo and for my granddaughter Jade. I honestly think that this will most likely be a part of a future island quest, but it's actually really cool. Hopefully we will find out more about their grandfather and why Daigo wasn't made a pair of daggers. Bro, I honestly hope that Jade and Kendo will find a way to free Daigo at the end of this season, even if the Dark Presence wins. I just hope for Daigo to be freed. Don't get me wrong, the Mask Maker variant of him is cool as hell. But like, it's quite sad. Deep down, this is not Daigo at all. And although Demon Daigo will most likely be freed at the end of this chapter, I still heavily believe that this season's storyline will end off on a sad note. But who knows, maybe during the event, Hope will also retrieve the 0-point shard. And then of course, store it in the vault, and that's when a true war on the island begins. But again, we just have to wait and see. But I'm saying this right now, it's most likely that the last reality will be heavily involved next season. Because when looking at a drawing of the spire, we can see that there is a cube in the middle, so this indicates that maybe the spires on the island are powered by cubes. And this does also tie even deeper into the new relationship between the Storm King and the Mask Maker. So next Fortnite season really will be insane. The last reality will most likely merge with the Spirit Realm, and then go for us, which will then lead into the finale of Fortnite Chapter 6. But yeah, the Fortnite storyline has once again gone into overdrive. And I honestly think that Charlie Wen is beginning to continue Donald Mustard's story. First of all, Charlie Wen is recycling old storyline characters. Take Core, for example, was relevant a tiny bit in Chapter 2, but is now back as a demon antagonist in Fortnite Chapter 6. I'm gonna dive deeper into this in a future video, but when looking at the survey skins and confirmation of next season's theme, it's a high chance that Sloan and the Herald will return to the storyline too. In fact, it's very likely that the last reality will make a full comeback themselves soon, when looking at this season and next season's lore. Midas's story has been very expanded on lately, which is something Donald Mustard had always planned on doing. And if you ask me, I honestly think that Charlie Wen is trying to make Midas more of a main character. The 0-point is much more involved in the storyline once again, especially with the recent return of the 0-point vault. And the 7 storyline might actually continue, as the new visitor Reality Unknown skin is extremely likely to be our visitor, who seems to be running away from the nothing right now. So yeah, not only does this tell us that Charlie Wen is most likely trying to continue Donald Mustard's story, but all of this and much more also tells us that the Fortnite storyline is back. This is what we had all been waiting for. The Fortnite storyline has gone into overdrive once again. But yeah, the future of this chapter honestly looks very promising. Anyways, with that guys, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And I just want to apologize for the extremely slow uploads lately. I'm actually going through a lot of exams right now, but they will be over in a few weeks time. So yeah, I hope you all understand, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.